Welcome to our AI Tools and Economic Gateway webinar. My name is Audrey Anderson. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications with Golden Shovel Agency. We are very happy to see all of these familiar faces joining here. As we get started, I'm just going to introduce our presenters and then let them take it away. Before I get to that, though, I want to mention that this will be recorded and we will send it to all of the clients. So if you need to reference anything that's mentioned here, you can always go back. And then also, if you do have questions, we want to make this as interactive as possible and answer every single question that you guys have. So put it in the Q&A as soon as you think of it. Ryan and Aaron will address it as they're able during the presentation. And then there'll also be some time at the end too to go through even more questions. So today we've got Aaron Brossois, our CEO, and Ryan Morris, our software developer. I'm going to hand it off to them. Thank you guys for being here.
Hey, thanks so much, Audrey. Appreciate that, and welcome everybody. We are excited to go through this client-exclusive webinar today on some of the new tools we've been building and some ways to be using them and explain what we're up to behind the scenes. I'm going to start by sharing just a little bit about AI and ChatGPT for those that might not be familiar with it. And then I'm going to pass it over to Ryan. He'll do a live demo of different ways we can use these new tools. And then we'll wrap up. I have a small selection of third-party tools that are also available that are AI related that you might want to look into. And so I'll show those off and then we'll just open it up for questions. We'll keep it kind of casual, so we might take some questions throughout the presentation, but certainly there'll be time at the end also. And then this, like Audrey mentioned, we'll send this out to you so you can check out some of these tools and try some of these things on your own. So with that said, I'm going to start with just talking about why AI. So if you're familiar, I mean, everybody I believe on this call is probably familiar with AI. It is absolutely stunning what it's been doing as far as the hype is concerned in the tech industry and what it's been capable of. It's certainly got all of the intention of all the major tech companies, and there's literally $1 trillion of investment going in globally into this technology. So it's very exciting, and certainly Golden Shovel wasn't going to miss any of that. So we're all over this. As our promise to our clients, we get these new technologies, and our job is to prospect them, figure out how do they work the best for economic developers, and then bring them to the table. And sometimes we develop stuff ourselves and integrate it into our softwares and technologies, or else we just recommend them to make sure that you get the most out of it and it makes your jobs easier with what you're doing. So the first thing I just want to say is artificial intelligence has turned Moore's law upside down, and that's why there's so much change happening. Like right now, artificial intelligence is doubling every 4 months instead of what was 24 months with Moore's law. And that just means that in 10 years, it could be 100 million times faster exponentially. Just that's the kind of change we're talking about. And this is a major shift as far as human technology is concerned. This particular book, The Coming Wave, Mustafa Suleyman was one of the co-founders of DeepMind, and DeepMind was purchased by Google. And he made this comment, that the coming wave is defined by 2 core technologies: artificial intelligence and synthetic biology. So AI is going to be a major player. Synthetic biology, of course, being improving the human body synthetically. But if you look at it, this is going to be a general purpose technology that applies to everything. And it's got the same kind of weight as things like language, agriculture, and writing does. So this is a really big deal of how it's going to affect us and support what we're doing in the future here. And we see articles like this all the time where AI, since it's on such a rapid development, starting to outperform what a lot of other, just outperform what we can do as humans. But I really want to take a step back. There's some fear mongering about AI replacing people, and that's not what I don't believe that's how it's going to play out. I mean, sure, there might be some jobs that can be handled by AI, but we're talking about ways to augment, not replace. So what we're using AI for is to make what we're doing better and make it faster, make it easier, make ourselves more productive, and make the solutions and things that we're doing stronger. So I even saw this one, like, on behalf of all CEOs, I'll admit that 75 to 90% of our day-to-day work is fully automatable by AI. But then later on, it says there's the remaining 10 to 25%, which is empathy, accountability, vision, inspiration. And it'd be nice to spend that more time doing that instead of 10 to 25%. It can use AI to support. That goes for all types of jobs. And frankly, we need AI. We're going to need it to solve the really big problems that, not just, I shouldn't say problem, but challenges that humans have in the world. There's things, especially at very large scales, that AI excels at, and we're going to need it in support of that. Particularly, I just put some of them on here: cancer related, forecasting disasters, solving global food supply. These are things that AI, the big complex questions in physics, these are things where AI can really apply its power to be able to answer some of these that'd be really difficult for humans. And this is only going to grow quicker and quicker as new technologies come, as quantum computing comes online. And also, this is behind this same AI, the same stuff that we're doing right now with text prompts and talking to it, is literally the technology behind this near future things that are really going to change how humans interact. So one was like AR glasses. We know that Meta is going to be announcing their first AR glasses where you can see through them, and it'll have true augmented reality. That's coming at the end of September. And then also on the right side, this is figure one. This is an automated humanoid robot that's completely powered by OpenAI. So the same technology is coming out kind of the same way the internet did. When it first came out, the internet was all text-based. Then suddenly we could put images and have a little bit of layout. And then suddenly we could do videos. And this is the same way. AI is text-based right now, but on a much accelerated rate of change. It's going to have all sorts of different ways to interact with it. And so what we've focused on and what we've integrated into the Economic Gateway is ChatGPT. I'm sure you're certain you've all heard of ChatGPT at this point. When you're interacting with AI, I just want to talk just on the very basic level. It's called, you type in what's called a prompt, and the art of getting what you want out of AI is really the art of prompting it, asking the right question to get the right answers, and then being able to refine it. One of the interesting things about ChatGPT is that it has a memory of your discussions that you have. And so as you have a discussion with it, you might say, hey, ChatGPT, can you tell me this or tell me that? And whatever the response is, you can then go back and say, I like that response, but could you do it more like this? Or could you put it in this kind of voice? So it actually keeps that memory so that you don't have to retype out the thing every single time, like you might, for example, in Google, you have to do a fresh search every time you make a search. But on this one, you don't necessarily have to recreate all of that. Now, in the spirit of crafting prompts, once again, these slides will be available, but I want to just touch on a couple of these. One is being clear is really, really important. You can provide context. So you could say, I'm working on this type of thing, and it's for this type of audience, and I'm looking to answer this type of question. And like, the more context you put in, the more precise it's going to be. Down here, it says limit one major topic per prompt. It can get out of hand if you say, can you do this, and then do this and this and this? It's more likely to get lost. And so focusing on one thing at a time is preferable, or at least one, even though it keeps the memory, so you can then have it, after it gives you one thing, ask it for the next thing, but not trying to prompt it all at one time. And the last thing I just want to talk about on here is number 7. You can assign a character lens. So one thing you can do in ChatGPT is type in something like, you are an economic developer, please give me a comparison between this community and this community. And then it'll speak to you as an economic developer might speak back. So you can, or like, you are a site consultant, and tell me what you like best about these particular properties. And it'll put on that character lens and give you answers back in the spirit of those characters. One thing for improved results, and really to not think about AI prompting like Google searches. Don't think of it like a programmer. Think of it like a conversation, like a friend that you're talking to. Type into it and talk to it. There's a ChatGPT's made it recently. You can just interact with it by voice, and it speaks back to you. And just have a normal conversation. You can speak to it like another person, and that actually gives you the best results. Trying to get too much into making a program or trying to write out some kind of search like you might do in Google isn't going to necessarily give you the results you want. And then another thing that I wanted to show this quick, this is something that we don't have graphic creation in our tools yet, that inside the Economic Gateway, it's something that we're looking into. So we're going to show you where we're at with it today, show you how you can use it, but this is going to be expanding over time. If you have access to ChatGPT just as or let's say ChatGPT 4 particular, it is free. It is available out on the web, and you can use it also to generate images. And so then it might be a way that you could, if you want to make something for your website. Just to give you a couple examples of this, here's a prompt I put in: create a dramatic photo of a businesswoman surveying a construction site. She has on a professional white blazer and a construction helmet. And this is the image it gave me. And then I said, well, make it photorealistic. The woman is smiling. Remember, it remembers my discussion I'm having with it. So I can just say that. I don't have to go back and say, make me a photo of a woman in a white blazer again. This is the photo that it gave me. Here's a couple more. Make this image in watercolor, and the woman is wearing a VR headset. Okay, make it again, but in the style of an animated feature film. In the background is a greenfield site. She is envisioning an advanced manufacturing plant being built there. And this is what it made. So these are pretty neat. This stuff like make this image in watercolor, that's a neat way to be able to generate some imagery, and you can have some consistency across them if necessary, especially if you're in a quick fix. One note about graphics created in AI, and I believe this is across all the AI tools, is that you don't have copyright on AI images. So they are free to use. You can use them and you can put them into your marketing materials, you can put them on your website, but you can't own them, so to say. If they're AI created, the US government decided that that is not a thing. So you can either just credit it to AI if you're going to put credits on it, or ChatGPT. Otherwise, just you are allowed to use any of the images you create, just not solely. Or if someone else makes something else that's, I guess, in its likeness, you can't copyright it. And then also for those of you that use Photoshop regularly, I just wanted to note that they've also been really expanding their AI tools, and we use this here at Golden Shovel. So let's say I wanted an image that's this size, but I only have this photo. So I want a horizontal image. I put in a vertical image. I was at Select USA in DC in June. And in order to be able to use this, I might ask ChatGPT to fill in and generate the missing part of the image. And in this case, that's what it generated. Now, that's of course not real, but it did put it in there, and actually will give you 3 different options. So you can click through, find something that you like. This is a really nice way to take images and make them so they fit really nice, especially on the web.
Hey, Aaron, I'm going to pause you really quick. We've got a question about memory from ChatGPT. Some clarification here. Is the discussion memory related to the economic development organization or to the user who may be outside of the organization?
Good question. The memory is only for the user that's in there. So like it follows your own conversation. So it's like having a conversation with a friend. You don't need to start the conversation over when you're in the middle of it. You can continue having that discussion, and they remembers what was discussed before. If you have an account with ChatGPT, it does have just if you were going to subscribe to it, but I believe it's still $20 some a month just to have access to it. And There's a free option also. I don't believe the free one necessarily tracks all of the has memory, but the if you have a subscription, it certainly does. And so it's just your own discussion with it that it remembers. In our tool, and that Ryan will be showing here soon, we have memory that's temporary. So it's memory on the page that you happen to do the chat, and it lasts until you leave the section. And then when you come back, it's fresh again. I want to just touch on these inaccuracies. Like, this technology is changing fast. It's flying out the door. It is absolutely not perfect. And so you got to be aware that there are inaccuracies. One of the things is the data that it's based on is a little bit older. It's not necessarily going to be current to the very day. And so some of the data that it might be looking at might be a year old or older. So you got to be really careful when you're asking it to make sure that you can get sources and be able to double check that the data is great. It also can hallucinate, so it can actually make up stuff every once in a while. So you got to double check your stuff. Don't take everything that comes out of AI at face value. There's also as bias for the same reason, because it's based on all sorts of previous data that already existed, but that data that exists was never necessarily perfectly balanced. There's various biases based on how much information is various topics, and so you got to be really careful, because it can be misread or misunderstood. Hallucinations are, like I said, when it makes stuff up. And then the uncanny valley, this has to do with especially image generation. It's getting better, and it's way better than when it first came out, but it can do some things that are just a little weird. The idea of uncanny valley is like when something should look real, but there's something off, and your brain knows something's off. Or sometimes it's very obvious what is off. And I put an example here of, make me some hands, and then they show up and they got 6 fingers. They're just stuff like that will happen, or something will be in the image that doesn't make any sense. So just be aware that although it is improving, it's not perfect yet. Okay, so at this time, I'm going to pass it over to Ryan. I'm going to have him walk through. I'll be hanging out here and interacting with the demo, but I will turn my video off. I'm going to stop the share and pass it over to you, Ryan. So let me introduce to you guys Ryan Morris.
Hi, everybody. Name is Ryan Morris. I'm a software developer on the Moonbase virtual team. I'm going to be demonstrating the AI assistant. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. So as you guys can see, so this is just on a training site. So we're just running with training data at the moment. And then up here on the left-hand corner, you're going to see Converse with AI Assistant. So I've got some pre-populated prompts that I'm going to be working with today. So the first couple ones are going to be really basic. So we'll go with the first one here. So where is Broken Arrow located in the United States? If you guys weren't aware, Broken Arrow is located in northeastern Oklahoma. So as you can see, the first bit here in the white is going to be your prompt. And then the secondary bit here that's got the click icon, that is going to be ChatGPT's response back to you. So you can either click here where the copy button is, and you'll see copy to clipboard, or you could even click anywhere really, and then you're able to copy the response. So then if you ever need to use it anywhere, you're able to do so. So as you can see, it's the same response as the one from previously. So moving on, we're just going to continue on with our basic questions to ChatGPT. So we're going to go with, where is Oklahoma located geographically in the United States, in the event that you're not sure where Oklahoma is at? So I'll tell you, it's in the south central region of the US. So then let's then ask it, can you tell me a little bit about Broken Arrow, Oklahoma? So then I'm not going to read all this off, but Broken Arrow is a city located in the northeastern part of Oklahoma, which pretty much got from earlier, Tulsa County, with a smaller portion in Wagoner County. And then we've got the following description there. So it's helpful for just general questions on locations you may be unaware of. Again, for this demonstration, I'm just going to really be honing in on Broken Arrow. So anyway, it gives you a nice, concise response about Broken Arrow. So now we're going to go into some more kind of researchy questions, specific data points, really. So can you give me some Esri data sets from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma? And then please provide references and links to sites that provided you with the data. As Aaron mentioned previously, you'll want to make sure that you ask it and prompt it specific things. And in this case, reference links, where did you get these? This way, if you're researching something, you'll be able to find where it came up with a response. So for example, we've got Broken Arrow Open Data Portal. It provides various GIS data sets. We've got a link, and then I won't read through the rest, but the other ones you can see, and then you get links, and then you could just open them up in a different tab and then take a look at them if you need to. So then moving on, let's now ask it another question. Again, pretty specific again, still on the data sets, but this time we're interested in concrete numbers. So please provide statistical data. Additionally, please provide references and links to sites that provided you with said data. So we're going to get a little bit of a different data set back from them now, but do know that when you ask specific questions like this, typically, not always, but typically it will respond and tell you, I don't have direct access to data sets, but then it will tell you how it came to its conclusion. So, in this case, again, we got another numbered list, 1 through 5, between census data. Can open that one up. And then I'll go on to this last kind of specific researchy questions. So again, instead of Esri data, can you just provide me with general statistical data about Broken Arrow, Oklahoma? And in this, we're more interested in population breakdowns. So we're going to get a nice overview of the population breakdown by race, ethnicity. And then we've got our census here, age, gender distribution, that kind of thing. And then I'm just going to quickly show, so we've got where it's pulling, the census, and then in particular, we've got where it gets its numbers from. As you can see, I'm just going to round up. So 120K, 114K for its population estimates. And then kind of going back here and cross-referencing, we can see 113K here. So in this case, it's a good example. They were able to really hone in on what the population numbers are.
I want to add in, Ryan, another thing you can do on the research side is do comparisons. Like, let's say your community is up against another community for attracting a business. You can ask it to make those types of comparisons. You can say, hey, I'm in Broken Arrow. How does that compare to like Santa Cruz, for example, California? And it'll tell you I say you are an economic developer. Tell me a comparison between Santa Cruz and Broken Arrow. And it'll tell you why, all the benefits for doing business in one community and the negatives of the other, to help use in your pitch.
And to make that, to hammer that point home, I have that prompt here too. So it'll take it a little bit sometimes to come up with it, because it will cross-reference different data points. In this case, it's Broken Arrow versus Santa Cruz. So again, I'm not going to go over everything here, but we'll just highlight the main points. So let's say business environment. So cost, taxes, regulations up against their cost, taxes, and regulations. So then you can cross-reference it. And, again, it even gives you a summary at the end here of, what exactly you're looking for. And if you like the data that you've seen, you could always just click it and then copy it to clipboard and then go paste it somewhere in a file somewhere, and then go do more research about it. But it gives you a great high-level overview of what exactly it is that you're looking for. So moving on to the next segment here, I'm just going to open up a page. This is just a page I created just for an AI demo, as you can see. So the first thing I want to go over is some translation options that GPT will provide. So if you need to come up with a translation for, let's say, Spanish and French, I'm just getting the prompt here to start this. So let me just put in here, can you translate this into Spanish and French for me? So as you can see, we've got two separate ones. We've got Spanish. I do speak a little Spanish, but not enough to feel confident in saying this publicly. Whereas French is the same thing, but both look good to me. From my limited knowledge of it, I definitely know both are definite different languages. So we'll copy that, and then let's just say, for example, you ever needed to use it. So we do something like that, and then spruce it up and just maybe do something like that. So anyway, kind of gives you a gist on some of the translation aspects of this and how easy it is to really use, especially within the admin. where if you need something just quickly to be translated, you can do so. And then, again, just harping home on this, you definitely want to cross reference it to make sure that it is correct and accurate. But on the whole, it does a really good job at translating things for you. So the next segment here, I just want to briefly go over some of the code generation that it does. So again, this would probably be more for some of the more tech savvy people out there. But so the prompt that I'm going to ask it is, can you generate some HTML and CSS based on this text? So I just copied that content area. So again, just this whole bit, and then say we want some CSS applied to it and different formatting for HTML. One of the things to highlight, whenever you see this, the kind of blue background behind the red magenta background, that just means it's formatted for code purposes. So then it's easy to kind of copy and paste. But again, this is more for tech savvy people where, again, looking at it, looks accurate to me, where you get your style tags. And then say, for example, can you explain this CSS to me? And then I'm just going to pull the CSS snippet. So if you have something real basic and you're not sure what it is, you'll be able to get a description back from it to kind of give you a description. So again, I'm just going to pop off the top here. So we got default color, and then we have a description here. Default color represents a default color, set to black. And then we have the rest of it there. So that is some of the tools that you can use ChatGPT in the admin, or AI Assist in the admin for this. Moving into some SEO content. Well, one thing before I forget too, there is another thing that you can do for, let's say, some of those responses back there. If you want to have kind of a different tonality between responses for, again, using broken arrows as our example, where say you wanted to be described for a family in a lighthearted tone, and then the second response, can you give me more of a serious tone? It does a really good job at giving you two different types. So I won't read these off, but I'll just read the first sentence between the two to kind of give you an idea. Where living in Broken Arrow for a family feels like you've entered the cozy embrace of a giant small town. Imagine a place where the neighborhood lemonade stands are still a big hit, and the annual Rooster Days festivals feels like a slice of old-timey Americana. So definitely more lighthearted compared to more of the serious professional of living in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma for a family offers a balanced and secure environment. The city is characterized by a strong community-oriented approach, ensuring a nurturing atmosphere for children and adults alike. So as you can tell, there's definitely two different tones in that. So it's something, again, another tool to be able to use if you can't think of something while you're trying to write something. And you're able to give two different tones depending on the context of whatever you're writing.
I want to add in, Ryan, just before we jump on to the SEO tool. Some of the other, just some things you can use. I want to just talk about them. One of them is you can use the ChatGPT as a thesaurus. So if you need to decide you're going to want to find a different word that you might want to use for something, you can dictionary. You can talk to it. You could ask it, say, hey, what ways could you help me with this situation that I'm working on? So all of that stuff is possible. Another thing, though, I want to talk specifically because you're just talking about tone, as far as content generation is concerned. Because Golden Shovel, we don't use ChatGPT for content generation, mainly because first of all, we have people that do this work. It can be inaccurate, which is the first thing. The second thing is that it will rarely have that the personal community tone necessary that you want. It's not going to have quotes from people. It's not just going to have, just doesn't do the same type of work that, say, a writer is going to do necessarily. So although you can generate that, I just say exercise extreme caution using it, and certainly talk to the Golden Shovel team as far as content generation is concerned. So, okay, back to you. Gateway Assist,
SEO part. Yeah, I mean, even as you were discussing that, I just put in, can you explain the definition of thermodynamics? So again, going back to the example of using it as a thesaurus, in case, I won't read off all this, but thermodynamics is the branch of physics that deals with relationships of heat and other forms of energy. And then you get the rest of it there. So if you need to look at something, you're not sure what a word means, that kind of thing, you're able to easily plug it in and then get your definition out of it. And then say you need to use it like as a calculator, maybe, some of those trickier things, not basic arithmetic and whatnot, like, oh, it's the square root of 356. Then you get 18.679, which is a pretty particular math question. But moving on, as far as the SEO aspect here. So AI has been integrated into here to help ease get some of these descriptions in there. This way it's not as daunting to do some of these. So as you can see on the right here, there's the AI assist button. I'm just going to click through these. I just have 3 different examples here. So business directory, event form, and projects directory. So as we can see, we get a nice, clean, concise, under 160 characters. It's what you want for these descriptions. Discover suburban comfort and small-time charm in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, family-friendly, vibrant community with top schools, parks, and cultural amenities. So where it pulls from, if you click here, and then we're going to see this is basically, it took this and condensed it down to 160 characters. Any pages that don't have any content, it's going to give you this red box. And then I'll briefly show how it can generate some keywords too. So now, same thing, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. For keywords, again, just looking for the keywords. So you'll always want to make sure you review these, read them, make sure that they look good. And then let's say, for example, a Broken Arrow in Oklahoma feels redundant. So we just remove that. And then from there, you can save it. It's a great tool to be able to really automate this and make it so that you don't have to be cross-referencing, looking at this, and then reading everything, trying to come up with the right keywords. This way it really jumpstarts you and doesn't leave you in brain fog area where you just can't figure it out. You're just like, oh man, there's all these other pages left for me to do. And then the last thing I'd like to show here is the new search functionality that we've recently built in. So for this, you can just click, this is an alternative to going to this hamburger menu here. And then we've got all this, right? We got a lot of different modules that you can go to. For this demonstration, I'm going to hone in on pages. But any of these, it's going to search for these topics as well. So you can click that, or there is keyboard shortcuts available. So you could do Control K or Command K on a Mac. And then if you click pages, it takes you straight to the pages. And then I'll just type in an example here as well. So it can search for specific keywords. So if I type in Hannah, we're going to get a bevy of different listings all throughout our modules. So this way, if you're not sure, like, did I make that article about Hannah or not? And where did I put that? Was it in the business directory? Was it in the news? I can't remember. You just type it in, and then you're going to be able to get tons of different results. So let's go with the news. So as we can see, then it saves us a lot of friction. So we don't need to go click the hamburger menu, go to look for news, here's news, click news, and then go through that whole rigmarole. So instead, all you have to do, again, just Hannah, then this one, and there we go. And it's just really quick and seamless. And then, so that wraps up the search and my little presentation on the AI Assist. From here, I'll just bounce it back over to Aaron.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that. All right. Well, as promised, I'm going to show you guys, get some other AI tools that I think might be of interest. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these, but I want to be able to share them anyway, so you can look at them yourself. Some of them we use ourselves internally, and then others you might want to, certainly can be used as an economic developer. So let me start here. And I have these as slides in the presentation. I'm not going to pull up the presentation. I'm going to show you the actual websites here, but they're in there. So when you get a copy of this, you can check those out. I got about, let's see, 8 or 9 here. So the first one is called HeyGen. This is pretty impressive. So what it does is it makes AI powered videos. You have a choice. You can use a whole variety of very photorealistic video avatars, first of all, and they will speak and kind of, they look completely natural and normal. They have lots and lots of different types of avatars depending on who you might want to represent your message that you might be making. There's different types of layouts and formats. So sometimes you can have it like this, where they're just centered and they're speaking and they have a nice background, or you can even have it more of like a talk show host approach where there's a PowerPoint presentation behind them and they're in front of it. So these things are very impressive. If I can.
This is what an instant avatar looks like.
So there was two.
This is what an instant avatar looks like.
Give you a little example of that.
Hey, this is what an instant avatar looks like.
Fantastic. I want to show you. So one of the other things you can do with this HeyGen is it actually will, you can take photos of your own face. It makes an avatar of you, photorealistic. And then when you go in there and you want to make, say, a presentation or a training video or a pitch or whatever, you can type it all in. You type it all in text and it automatically will generate everything else using your tone of voice and video. So you can make entire presentations without actually having to film them yourself. You can just use this AI tool. One particularly interesting use case of this is once you've made a video, you can change the languages of it. So let's say you wanted to make a pitch that you needed to send to another company. You could do it all normally in English in your voice, but then it'll use AI to change that into a variety of different languages using your same voice, which is just crazy to me, but it's really, really awesome. Let me just show you the beginning of this video.
Imagine if you could speak 8 languages fluently and connect with billions more people around the world. Well, now you can do it with AI. Let me show you how. Imagine speaking 8 languages fluently and connecting with billions more people worldwide. Now, AI can make it possible. Let me demonstrate. Imagina hablar 8 idiomas y conectar con miles de millones de personas en todo el mundo. Ahora puedes hacerlo con IA. Déjame mostrarte cómo. सोचिए अगर आप 8 भाषाओं में बात कर सकते हो और दुनिया भर के अधिकांश लोगों से जुड़ सकते हो, अब आप इसे AI के साथ कर सकते हैं. मुझे दिखाने दो कैसे करें. Wyobraź sobie, że płynnie mówisz w 8 językach i nawiązujesz.
So you can see just it has a whole variety of different languages. Really interesting idea. And I think there's some pretty good applications for economic developers that you need to work across languages. Another tool you might want to consider is originality.ai. This is actually an AI checker. And this was introduced to us actually via a teacher, a professor, and who was using it because students were, certainly some students anyway, are attempting to make their papers in AI. And so what this does is allows you to check that. And so has a 99% AI content detection accuracy. And so if there's a reason why you wanted to double check and see if something was done with AI, you can use originality.ai to check that out. Another interesting tool, perspectiveapi.com. This will look at content and help you figure out how toxic it might be or what kind of responses you might get. So if you wanted to, if you're going to write something and post it, particularly if it's an article with perhaps some strong opinions in it, you can run those through Perspective and it'll give advice and tell you how likely it is to cause any sort of uproar or not. Also, there's tools inside Perspective that you can use for social media responses, so that if you end up with a bad case of trolls writing toxic comments or something, that can use this to help manage that. So that's interesting new tool. Grammarly is one that we use in Golden Shovel a lot. And in Grammarly, what it does is it looks at all of the content that you're writing, and it'll make any kind of tweaks as far as certainly anything misspelled, as far as verbiage is concerned. If something is written a little strange, it'll make recommendations on how to improve that. And we have this embedded into a lot of our workflow to just be a backup to make sure that as we're writing, that we're doing it the very best as possible. Another tool that Golden Shovel uses regularly is called Otter AI. This one is pretty cool. And what you can do is you set it up so that it pretty much shows up on your like Zoom calls, and it just shows up as a additional person. It listens to all of the calls, and then it can automatically make transcripts, summaries. It can spit out an email with a quick summary and all the action items that you need to do. Can send that out to everybody. It can allow you to go back later and search through a meeting that you had, find that exact spot, read the transcript, or even listen to the audio of it. So this is something that we use internally a lot, and it's certainly saved a ton of time for us in the meetings we have. It's very nice to be able to go back and listen to a meeting again and be able to search this way through the content. So something to consider. This one's a little more fun than anything, but it certainly could find some interesting approaches. This is called Udio, and it makes music. So for free, you can generate 30-second videos or 30-second music clips. You can say, I want it to be in a certain style. I want it to be of this particular, about this particular subject or topic. And you can type that into the prompt, hit create, takes about a minute, and it'll generate 2 different song options and give you a 30-second clips. If you get a subscription to it, you can write entire songs. So there's some funny and creative ways you can use this type of content, particularly if you wanted to make songs for a specific event or something that's really personalized to somebody. You can use this, and it's pretty impressive. It's really fun to use too. And then I wanted to just mention there's a few different tools of this type, but this is by Topaz Labs. It's called Gigapixel, and this is a image upscaler. So a lot of times, certainly, Golden Shovel, we're working with photos from all of your different communities, and there's all sorts of different quality photos. So as you guys know, like sometimes you have a really low quality image of something that's really important that you want to have on the site. There's tools like this that can upscale them. So before, if you tried to scale it up, it would just turn blurry and pixely, and it wouldn't make for a quality image online. But these types of tools you can put in, and it uses AI to keep filling in the holes so that it becomes a much larger image without losing that resolution. So certainly interesting for economic development sites, but interesting as a whole. Like personally, for anybody that has some photos that may not be digital, or old photos from before that just are way too low quality or are too small, even if it's like personal images, you can use these types of tools to make larger scale ones in case you want to make prints or use them other ways. So just a interesting tool to consider. And then I did have a question that's just asked, if I have time, could I show how that image generation thing works on Photoshop? So let me show you guys that real quick. I just got to change. So I don't think everybody here is necessarily going to be versed in Photoshop, but I pulled up this image. This is talking about how you could generate these images. What I did is I made a new file. I believe it's 1000 pixels by 500 pixels. And I copied in my image, because my image happens to be square and doesn't fit in there. And so I'm just going to put it in there. And this is the part that I need to generate. So what I'm going to do, I grab a box and I'm going to say, well, where do you want this new part generated? I want it right there. And now one of the new options in Photoshop here is generative fill. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to leave it blank. You can say, what do you like to generate? If you don't put anything in there, it's going to look at the rest of the image and generate something that balances out with it. But I could do something crazy and say, I want to put a person talking in a microphone over there or something of that sort. Let me just generate this as is. And there, it gave me something in the background. And like I mentioned, it'll give you 3 different options. So I could look at these 3. Well, this looks like a store or something. I probably wouldn't use that one, but maybe I'd be able to use that or that. So it's a nice way to kind of fill out or make adjustments on images if you need a different size. But if you want to add in a prompt, I could, here, I'll say, add a person with a microphone in a business suit. Okay, put a person in the back. It made me the person with the microphone in this case, but it's just generating all of that stuff and leaving those as options. So that is how that works. And so at this point, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to the presentation. Where am I? I have my presentation pulled up. Okay, well, let me just do this then. I'll get this thing pulled back up, but I believe we're at a great time to open it up for any kinds of questions. Do we have some questions out there?
I don't see any yet, but I know there's got to be some burning questions. I see a couple gatekeepers on the call too, so if you guys have any questions that you anticipate clients having.
I have a question for you. Just kind of, I see there's QA in there. Never mind.
Oh, more of a comment. Must be at Matsy instead of Select USA. Singing karaoke, maybe?
Yeah, well, my question related to that, how does that plugin for Photoshop cost money? Or is that a plugin they provide with Photoshop these days?
That is provided with Photoshop. Photoshop costs money. So you have to have subscription to the Adobe tool in order to do that. But that's, yep, other than that, it's included. I got this thing pulled back up. I'll just note that I did put all of these in here, all these different tools that I just pulled up and showed you. And then I also wanted to note, as all of you are probably aware, we have a resource learning center on our website, and there's all sorts of different white papers that we create on a variety of different topics. This last quarter, we just did one on aviation and local airports and their impact on economic development. We recently did one on childcare, and we did one on housing, all sorts of different topics that are very important to economic developers. We did a tourism one this year on a white paper on that. So feel free to download any of those. We do have one on AI, although I'll warn you, this came out in December. So over half a year out of date. So I can already, this stuff I'm showing you today is newer from this, but you certainly can take a look at that. And it's got a lot of great suggestions that are still very valid.
While we're on the topic of white papers, definitely let your gatekeeper know or send me an email if you've got topics that you would like to see in the future. I'm the one that kind of coordinates them and gets the ball rolling. So definitely let one of us know and we can see what we can do. We got a couple questions, comments here. Can we add ChatGPT on the front end for our users?
So right now, so there are some different types of chatbots that are being created, and we've gotten multiple questions about this. There's a couple different third-party types of tools. We have not, as Golden Shovel, built our own external chatbot at this point. Now, the reason why we haven't is because of usage. So every time you use ChatGPT, it spends tokens, and tokens cost money. So that's where we have a subscription to ChatGPT. We can open up to all of our clients to be able to use. But with that said, once you put it on the front end, there's a variety of malicious players out there, the same types of spiders and bot crawlers that are going from website to website looking for opportunities to exploit basically exploit websites. And so we take that security very, very seriously. We definitely have a front end AI chatbot on our minds. We're trying to figure out how we might want to build something like that. But for now, the fear is that we'll have automated. Basically, it'll just get just kind of, you have spiders generating thousands and thousands of requests all at one time, and that's not going to be very manageable, and certainly not going to help economic developers much. The second thing also I just should note about ChatGPT as a whole is that there are tools out there that can prevent basically anything you put in ChatGPT going into the whole of it. You do not want to be putting really sensitive information into ChatGPT. If you put in things that are secure, that shouldn't be shared, or certainly have some level of privacy, that stuff goes into ChatGPT. It can be remembered and can be found later if someone types the right prompt. And so do be careful using it. You don't want to necessarily put anything that's a trade secret or super sensitive to a prospect into ChatGPT. If there's, like I mentioned, there are tools that can prevent that and to make sure that whatever you're doing is stored, and I can send those if you're curious. Just feel free to reach out to us and we can talk about those later.
So it looks like a kind of follow-up question to having on the website and Golden Shovel's user versus what someone else might have. It says, can we, I think, add it to the website if they have a registered user? Maybe Aaron, if you could talk a little bit about Golden Shovels versus what anyone else might have. Does that make sense?
So if you're a registered ChatGPT user, the question is if you can use it from there, or regarding doing like a chatbot.
So I think this is referring to adding a chatbot or the chat feature to the website. Let's see, registered on our EDO website like a site locator.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So once again, right now if you have an account, one thing you can do, but I don't believe it would function successfully right now, is a front end chatbot. But you can make a character, basically make your own chatbot inside ChatGPT. So you could go into ChatGPT and you could say, you can preload it up with a bunch of stuff like, you are an economic developer. Always give me professional responses. Always give me sources, things like that. And instead of having it kind of gets baked into the bot, so you don't have to type that in, even though it will remember the conversation. You don't have to put that in to begin with. Everything you interact with it will have those filters already in there. So that's kind of a neat way to create the character lens and make it so that you can utilize that. They haven't made it open yet where you can necessarily plug it into the front end of a website. So even if you have an account, you can't just drop it in onto your site. The other thing about it that I think might be a little early for putting that kind of chatbot onto the site is that it's looking at all data. It's got this massive, massive data set. It's not just looking at stuff that's on your website. And you really don't have a strong control at this point on whether or not that chatbot's going to hallucinate too much, or it's going to give out the wrong information. I'd hate to have a anonymous prospect show up on your website and ask about a specific, what sites you have available, for example, and it just pulls up a list of sites that may or may not be ones you're actually recommending or selling. You'd be way better having them reach out to you so that you can curate that, because otherwise the economic developer loses some of the control. So I completely get the idea, and we've discussed it internally at some length. We have not built it yet because I'm not certain yet that it's going to be the best solution for an economic developer. And until we have that kind of confidence, we're just not going to launch that yet. So that's our hesitation. I have no doubt that that'll be relieved at some point, and we'll be able to have those types of tools. Like, once again, I believe there's some third-party people doing some of that stuff already. So as we find those, we'll send them out.
Hey, Chris says, thanks for that thoughtful response.
Yeah, you bet. That's an excellent question.
Mhm. Thank you for clarifying it. That's all we've got for questions now. It looks like some people are starting to hop off. We're getting to the top of the hour pretty soon here. So if you've got any final questions, please add them.
Sounds good. Well, thanks. Thanks everybody for attending. And once again, this is all a work in progress. So as we build new tools and enhance these, we'll keep sharing those with you guys. And then certainly be doing more webinars like this as we build new stuff. So
And
thanks
thank
so
you,
much.
Aaron and Ryan, for going through all of this and for everyone for being here.
Thanks for having me. It was great.